So my name is Jason Verney. I'm from the United Kingdom, or UK, and my film Sewol Sealed Eternally with Our Love was filmed in South Korea, various areas of Korea, but also filmed elsewhere. The inspirations for the film were the Sewol Ferry tragedy or disaster, which happened in 2014. And I was an activist, or rather, I am an activist for the cause. And although I was really focusing on fiction film at the time, and I still do, um, I was so wrapped up in this cause that things just kept going and getting more questions being raised, but answers not being given. And because we did these monthly memorials for, well, it's been 11 and a half years now as I record this, I had all this footage, not just from being an activist, from standing there with my friends in London, which we did it every month pretty much, and we still do, or my friends do. I'm mostly based in Asia these days. There was so much that I was capturing. There were certain places. I went on a ferry ride, which made me think of Korea and the actual ferry ride itself. I went to the classrooms twice. I went to the ferry, the actual ferry, where it all happened. And that was very moving. And actually, what really happened in 2017 was I recorded some stuff with me there, some footage. And I just thought, I've got to do something with this. And instead of it being like a 10, 15-minute video art, it's turned into a 70-minute feature film, really. And it is essentially 10 years, 10 visits, 10 parts, a 10-tale tribute. Yeah, now, how was the production and what was it like to film in my country? Well, let's say in Korea, it's similar to other countries, some other countries, that you can film anything. Obviously, you get the permission. So if I was filming events that related to the anniversary or the monthly memorials, perhaps even in England, but in Korea, 10-year anniversaries, the ferry ride. I mean, as long as you've got permission to do that. And even if you haven't, certain things can be filmed anyway. If you are not aiming for a commercial film, you are doing an independent film, perhaps a non-profit film, really it's limitless. That said, in some countries, you have to be careful what is filmed, what is written. But I find that South Korea in general, I suppose, South Korea, mostly welcoming for this kind of thing. I did film some things in Bangkok because there's a Korean cultural center in Thailand, and I'm based in Chiang Mai, Thailand at the moment. And so I filmed that with the permission. And I'd also, as a bizarre sort of coincidence, which is also, a lot of this is mentioned in the film, I was also very closely linked to the Korean Cultural Centre London, or the Korean Cultural Centre UK. So, I had some, I'm not going to say connections, but I had some knowledge of the KCC and how they work. But that didn't, I just approached that venue and asked if it's okay. I filmed some stuff. Can I use it in a film? It's about the Sewol Ferry, because also you've got to remember, depends what the subject matter is. People might not want something to be associated with something like that. This has a political element to it, but my film is not coming from a political side, really. It's coming from me as an activist on behalf of my friends in the UK who are activists for the cause. And because of that, it's really about the loss of lives. And 304 people passed away, mostly school children. So what is the main role of cinema in our society? Well, when I'm going as as an audience member to see a film, it's entertainment, whether that's something that makes me laugh, cry, think, but also the documentary side, because we've got fiction documentary here. I guess there's a role to educate people, and you can actually make dramas that educate people as well, as I know myself. I'm just saying, when I've made a drama before, which I've done, a Korean English related one, in both languages with Koreans mostly. It was trying to say something, but I don't think that everything has to say something. But the role of cinema in society, I think it's really important. It's a very communal experience, but at the same time, I'm quite happy to be in a cinema with only one or two people in there. There's just something about switching off. It's very calming. When you go to see a music concert that's on for an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe, you don't switch off. You're enjoying it. You're enjoying the music, but you're also, you're moving and you're probably maybe dancing. But with a film, you sit there, you take it all in, and you come out 2 hours later and you have these thoughts, good, bad, or provocative maybe. So I suppose in line with that, or leading on from that, what I see of sort of streamings versus cinema screenings and AI, but obviously we're talking about functions here in film, I suppose. How do I see the future of cinema? Well, it's worrying. Um, I've That said, I've got a Brazilian filmmaker friend here in Chiang Mai who made a film, and it was all shot, all real, but for his effects, for a certain scene, he wanted to show something, maybe something burning. I can't quite remember, but it was basically using special effects, but with the function of AI. So there is a limit. I mean, we've been using AI for a long time. Even with Google Translate, we forget how long we've had Google Translate, and there is some AI element to that. It's a learning thing. So it's not a brand new thing, AI, but of course it is worrying when people can make a whole film from AI, because when you're an artist like myself, and most of you filmmakers out there, I would say, I would hope, um, you're doing it because you love creating something from the story. It's a real pain to make a film, though. It can be enjoyable, but it's coming up with the idea is the easy thing. Then you've got to do everything else. But there's something rewarding. There's going to film festivals and taking the film to film festivals, going to other countries, but not even that. You can put it on the online platforms as well. With streaming services. I don't know if cinema. I would like to think that cinemas will always be there, but it does worry me a bit because there's a lot of films I don't watch because I haven't got the tolerance or the. I might not watch something on one of the platforms like Netflix or Mubi or something because I haven't got the energy to sit and watch, and maybe I am distracted by other, devices and other things in the world or whatever. Whereas when I'm in a cinema, I have to be focused. And actually, when I got into foreign films years ago, I mean, that was what made me focus, was the subtitles, for example. So I would watch a film in a cinema, and those subtitles would keep me glued because I have to focus. I can't just sort of drift off and it not become relevant. So the next question for independent filmmakers: do I think the hybrid mode, screening in theatres, streaming, and online festivals, is bringing more benefits or more losses? Uh, be- well, to the filmmaker, benefits. Perhaps to the film festival, you don't really know your audience. Obviously, when a film is put online, like it was at this film festival that I'm speaking about here, then yeah, that it's been put online and people can view it, and it's really good for filmmakers. I don't think it's a problem. I mean, obviously, when we had the big, C word, when everything had to go online, that taught people a lot. But even so, I think it's not a bad thing as long as we can keep the cinemas going, and the cinema screenings and festival screenings, because it is important. You can still be a curator though of a film festival online, but also that we got to be careful as well, because there's also festivals out there that claim to do all those things and put stuff online, and actually they might not be doing that. So there is a fine line between a genuine film festival like this one, and other ones out there that sort of don't do that, and they say it's being screened. It hasn't been screened with an audience. It's being screened in front of one person. If that, it's just being ticked. They've got your money, and that's it. So, do I have any work in development in development that I'd like to share. Yes, I mean, again, when we, well, I say again, it depends on other filmmakers, but I only make films because I get the idea. And that doesn't mean that 1 year goes past, I don't have a single idea between films. These ideas come continuously, so much so that I create an idea. I write a few lines, I write half a script, I video something, and I think, oh, that will be good in a film. Maybe I can recreate that shot. But the actual, these ideas are always coming. So have I got something in production or in the works? Well, I have, but there's a few. One is something I filmed on an island in Thailand. This one, let's try to explain this. How best can I explain this? Woman, actually a Brazilian woman. I was just saying that because I spoke about Brazilian earlier. We shot something in Koh Samui, and I thought, right, we just did it for a bit of fun. I came up with a story, but since then I have a lot of footage of that particular part of the film, which was going to be the whole film, maybe cut away with some text messages or phone calls from somebody else. But since then, that is now going to, all being well, that is going to form half of the film with another character based elsewhere in Thailand. And so you've got two different characters who will be connected, but obviously those scenes have been filmed, and the other ones have yet to be filmed. But that's one of the films. I've got 2 or 3 ideas for Korean projects related to Korean diaspora. Again, they're half written, or mostly half written, and it's just going over there. And I've got a lot of connections in Korea, and quite a few film connections who help me with that process. Because if you don't know a country, I mean, actually, when I lived in London, I didn't really connect that much with filmmakers. I suffer from perhaps imposter syndrome, like a lot of people, a lot of artists, and so I think that with this business, you always have projects on the go. I've got stuff that I edited together thinking I want to make this video art, but I need to do the other part, or I need to create some animation or something. And so there's always stuff on the go. I don't want to say what will be my next release because I don't know which one's going to get made first. But if I have to sort of cover some other points, really, well, I'd like to cover some other points. I am a bit of a purist, and I do like the idea of cinema. People have mentioned vertical filmmaking. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, this film featured segments where I had cut them in. They were vertical phone shots that I'd put together. For example, this is obviously, well, you don't know, but it is. It's vertical shots. I think at the time I did a bit of both, when I was there. This was in Mokpo in South Korea, where the ferry is. I went there in 2017 and 2022 when the ferry was turned on its side. Originally there was family members around the ferry. That's the closest they could be to their lost loved ones. But vertical filmmaking, I think it's got its place. However, as I said, I'm a bit of a purist with regards to cinema, so I will always want it like this. I also remember seeing a couple of films, one of them being, what was it? A Ghost Story. I'm sure you might have seen that film. And it was filmed in slightly smaller TV, 4:3, I think it was. And I didn't actually pay attention. The film was so gripping, I don't think I even noticed. And I thought, how can I not notice that? So maybe, of course, you're going to notice vertical because it's a third of the screen, if depending on the widescreenness and all that. So going back to that, I'm a bit of a purist, so I do like the idea of screening in the proper. You do lose stuff when you watch something on a smaller screen. That said, if you want the most amount of people to see something, you've got to lose something. You've got to lose the audience thing. And also with cinemas pushing their prices up, I don't blame people for not going to cinema. And with them getting closed down, I think, yeah, I think there should be a lot more focus on keeping these venues going, and maybe ones that specialize in independent cinema, or at least not the franchise things so much. Yeah, so that's it. I'm always, yeah, this film, the 70-minute documentary, Sewol, Sealed Eternally with Our Love, which is the name of the ferry, Sewol, which I created words to form that word, if that makes sense. I didn't create the words, the words already existed. I created the word Sewol, which already existed, out of the words that I made fit there. But I hope to do something in Korea this week. As I record this, I'm going to Korea for the Korean premiere of this film, and it's what I made it for Koreans. It doesn't go into the depths of the story and what really happened, and the faults and who was to blame, but it is a tribute from me and my activist friends in the UK. But essentially, it's my journey. But all thanks to these guys that I know in England and I love, and they are my friends. And so that's it. I could talk more, but I guess this should be about it. Thank you for watching, and happy filmmaking, everybody.